Hello aspirants, before we move on with our video, let me share a great opportunity with you all, wherein you can get your doubts and queries related to civil services preparation answered directly by IRS officers on our panel, Mr. Pramod and Mr. Arun. Now Mr. Arun cleared the exam in Hindi medium with Hindi literature as the optional. So we would like you to use this opportunity, in fact this rare opportunity, to improve your preparation. Do send in your queries through WhatsApp or email. The same will be answered in the upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Hello friends, welcome to IS Help Desk. Today we are going to critically analyze the new education policy 2020 which was recently proposed by the government. So first let me introduce you with the term critically analyze, and if you go through the UPSC previous year question paper, then the directives like critically examine, critically analyze, or only examine or discuss, and likewise these terms are very common. So what does it intend when it says so? Right now I'll explain the directive of critically analyze for our discussion, and by saying critically analyze, it means that we have to break the question into parts and a deep thought is required to put on the various aspects of a given topic. And by saying critically, it means that we have to provide a fair judgment on our analysis. And so today we will try to analyze the various aspects of the new education policy 2020, and also this topic is directly related to GS paper 2 in governance part. It is also indirectly related to GS paper 3 under inclusive growth and development, and also for GS paper 1 under social empowerment. So let me give you some of the basic background about literacy and education. So what is literacy? Literacy is the ability to read, write, and comprehend information in order to communicate effectively. So what do we mean when we say that someone is literate or being literate, and what is the importance of it? So in order to succeed in modern life and career and to improve our way and quality of life, it is vital to have good literacy skills. Also, it is more than just being able to read, but rather how you use written information to function in modern society. We can all in fact agree that being able to read and write affect our daily life in so many ways, and yes, it definitely help us to communicate through reading, and there is even a literacy day set aside by the UNESCO to help and promote the importance of literacy. And on this International Literacy Day this year, UNESCO, the Director General of UNESCO, said something on the importance of literacy, saying that literacy is the first step towards freedom, towards liberation from social and economic constraints. It is the prerequisite for the development, both individual and collective. It reduces poverty and inequality, it creates wealth, and helps in eradicating problems of nutrition and public health. Now, many a times we have seen people using both literacy and the word education equally without differentiating both, but both are different. As we read, literacy is the ability to read, and it is the ability to write and understand and comprehend something. But education is a systematic process of facilitating learning, receiving, even experiencing and acquiring knowledge for overall development. And many a times we have come across the phase that an educated person can be literate, but every literate person cannot be called as educated. So education is a broader concept beyond literacy it is. And it's an all-round development of a human personality. For example, education aims to make a person rational, that is, it influences a person to think comprehensively and reason scientifically. Now, if we talk about the literacy rate in India it is 74.04%, in which Kerala is the highest with 93.91%, and Bihar with the least of it is 63.82%. And if we talk in terms of male and female, then it is 82.14% for males and 65.46. So, in the context of India, which is facing the unprecedented challenges right now, like inadequate resources, multilingual approach for education, and all these things are making the education system more complex. So, in a process to simplify this, the Union Cabinet has approved the new education policy along with the change in the name of Ministry of Human Resource Development to Ministry of Education from now onwards. So, let me give you a brief background about the national education policy so that it will be easier for us to understand the purpose and the objective behind. So, national education policy is a comprehensive framework to guide the development of education in the country. And in 1964, the Kothari Commission, which was constituted to draft a national and coordinated policy on education, and that was based on this suggestion that Parliament passed the first national education policy in 1968. And in this year, that is in 1968, the first national education policy came under the government of Indira Gandhi. And then again in 1986, the second national education policy came under the government of Rajiv Gandhi, which was further revised in 1992. And then this is the third national education policy 2020. So the objective here is to ensure the universal access to school education from preschool to secondary level. And then the objective is to increase the gross enrollment ratio from 26.3%, which was recorded in 2018, to 50% by 2035. Now here, what is gross enrollment ratio? So it is a statistical measure which is used in education sector to determine the number of students enrolled in school at several different grade levels. And this is used to show the ratio of number of students who live in the country to those who qualify for the particular grade level. And here, a high gross enrollment ratio means it indicates that a high degree of participation, and it also indicates the capacity of the education system to enroll students of a particular age group. And then in this national education policy, new seats will be added to the higher education institutions. An important objective here, I would like to point on this, that center and states will be working together to increase the public investment in education sector to take up an upgrade up to 6% of the GDP. Also, the new policy has proposed to develop infrastructure and putting in place new and innovative teaching centers, and then appointing only trained teachers and counselors, and creating a conducive environment for opening schools, and also encouraging adult literacy programs to achieve the goal. Now, let's see what are the changes in this new education policy with a proper analysis. So, this new education policy 2020 will replace the 10 plus 2 system by a 5, 3 plus 3 plus 4 model. And this curricular structure, which includes 3 years of preschooling in Anganwadi centers for children between 3 to 8 years of age, and then followed by another 12 years of formal schooling. So this is the first time that a national education policy has extended government outreach to preschooling, which will include nursery education and kindergarten levels also. For this, the NCERT will be the nodal body to shape a national curricular and pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education for children up to the age of 8. The early childhood education will be a collaborative effort between the Ministries of Education, Women and Child Development, Health and Family Welfare, and Tribal Affairs. So we can see that a great focus has been laid on equipping the child with 21st century skills, and for this, new subjects like coding will be introduced from class 6 itself. And at the same time, students will now have greater flexibility in choosing their subjects, and so the rigid demarcation between art and sciences and etc. will cease to exist. Also, a new course curriculum towards the goal will be developed by the NCERT itself. The National Education Policy, it also does away with annual examinations and has proposed board examinations in modular form in grades, that is 3 and then 5 and then 8 and then 10th and then 12th, and will be redesigned to test the conceptual understanding of students. Then a new assessment center called PARAK, that is Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. This too will be set up as to set standards of education. Then the policy also includes setting up of gender inclusion fund and special education funds to support socially and educationally disadvantaged groups. These breakfasts will also be added to the midday meal program in the school. And one of the most important features of the National Education Policy 2020 is recruitment of teachers, as the Indian school system has long suffered the problem of insufficient teachers and low recruitment of trained teachers. Now let's see what are the other changes in the school system. So first is ensuring universal access to education. And by this, the name itself suggests universal access, which means that there will be infrastructural support, there will be innovative education centers to bring the dropouts also into the mainstream, and then tracking of students and their learning levels will also be done. There will be facilitation of multiple pathways to learning involving both formal and non-formal education modes. There is also an option of open learning for classes 3rd standard, 5th standard and 8th through NIOS and state open school. And then there is early childhood care and education. Under this, the NCERT will be preparing a framework for early childhood care up to the age of 8, and this will be implemented in Anganwadis. So this is the very important step which has been taken by the government to include these Anganwadis also into the mainstream education. And then there is attaining foundational literacy and numeracy. So this suggests for setting up of a national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy by Ministry of Human Resource Development, which is now being called as Ministry of Education. And states will prepare an implementation plan for attaining universal foundational literacy and women in all primary schools for all learners by grade 3rd by 2025. Then the issue of multilingualism, where the problem was faced, it has been catered, as the policy has emphasized that mother tongue, that is the local language or regional languages, will be there as a medium of instruction, and that too till the grade 5th grade. And also the state government, if want, then it can upgrade till the 8th standard. And then Sanskrit will be an option of choice where student can opt for learning of Sanskrit under including the 3 language formula. There will also be an option of learning foreign languages, and which will be offered at the secondary level. The new education policy emphasizes on making this policy an inclusive education policy, and that by including the various sections of the society, like from socially and economically disadvantaged groups, which include gender also, and socio-cultural differences, also including the various geographical identities and disabilities. Also, there has been a proposal of establishing Bal Bhavan at state or district levels as a special daytime boarding school to encourage art and career related participation and promoting playing related activities. And then there has also been a free school infrastructure proposal that can be used as Samaj Chetna Kendra actually. And these are the Kendras to impart training and education to the poor and vulnerable sections. And then the policy says about the robust teacher recruitment and career path, that is placement of teachers through a transparent process and also promoting them on the basis of merit. And now let's talk about the benefits expected out of the proposed policy, as there will be more emphasis on the integration of vocational education and internships from 6th grade onwards. A better society of skill and talent can be made. Also, the emphasis on mother tongue or the regional language will be helpful in developing the skill in rural areas where language had remained one of the major challenge. Then there is an idea to equip students with new skills like carpentry, electric work and metal work, also gardening and pottery making from the very early levels of the schooling. And through this, it has been ensured that at least 50% of the students by 2025 to have a comprehensive exposure to the vocational education. And then coding learning has also been included from 6th grade itself. And then the use of artificial intelligence system also to analyze the shortcomings and corrective measures required for each individual students, and hence a new assessment center called parak, that is performance assessment review and analysis of knowledge for holistic development. It has been formed, which will be a standard setting body. And then as per the new education policy, the removal of all the demarcations of the subject and the merging will be done to make the curriculum more flexible. Now let's see its various parts of criticism where it lags behind, where the policy lags behind. So the very first thing is, the policy is not focusing on the real issue, that is the quality of education, which is the real issue in India. And then also here one important point is the policy proposes to create a centralized body which is against the federal structure of the Indian Constitution, because education comes under the concurrent list where center and states both should equally participate. Then, though the emphasis of mother tongue is more for the upgradation of rural areas, but here the point is after 8th standard, when students will have to switch to the English language, then they will face difficulty in their course. Also, the lack of teachers will add on to their problem. Then tracking the progress where all the students will take school examination in 3rd standard, 5th standard and 8th standard, which will be conducted by the appropriate authority, and hence it may affect the learning process in a similar manner to no detention policy in education. So let me give you a brief about what is no detention policy. A no detention policy in education is a policy under Right to Education Act, which says that no student should be failed or barred from school until they complete their elementary education, and this covers classes from 1st to 8th of the standard, which means that children will be inevitably promoted to the next class. Also, the government has plans to set up committees which will be subject oriented and also with members from relevant ministries, and this will be at central and state level both, for better implementation. And this plan will list out the steps that should be taken by the multiple bodies, including Ministry of Human Resource Development and Ministries of State Education departments, and then school boards, and then NCRTs, then Central Advisory Body of Education and National Testing Agency. And the plan made by these committee members will be followed by a yearly joint review of progress. Now let's see what are the changes in higher education system. So the very first thing is common entrance exam for admissions. Here, from school to colleges, it is proposed that there should be a single entrance exam, and this will be conducted by National Testing Agency, which will be called as Common Entrance Examination, that is CEE, for admissions to universities across the country. And then a common test of aptitude will be conducted along with specialized common subject exams in different fields of science, arts, and vocational subjects. And it will be held twice in a year, and this process will give universities to use these common entrance exams rather than conducting their own exams and making the process complex for students. So, it has also been said that the assessment will be left upon the universities if they choose to. Then there is a proposal of holistic multidisciplinary education, and it emphasizes undergraduate education with flexible curriculum, giving a creative combination of subjects along with the integration of vocational education and multiple entry and exit options with proper certification. Also, the National Research Foundation will be created as an apex body for enhancing and fostering a research culture. So here, by saying exit points, the proposal means that students can choose to move out from the courses with a validate certificate. And so the undergraduate degree will be either 3 years or 4 years of duration with multiple exit options. And students will get a certificate after completing 1 year in a discipline or field, including vocational and professional areas, even in diploma after 2 years of study, and a bachelor degree after a 3 years of program. The policy also says about the foreign colleges that high performing universities in India will be encouraged for setting up campuses outside the country, and in similar manner the top 100 universities in the world will be facilitated to operate in India too, and the legislations required will be done for such entry, and such universities will also be given special dispensation regarding regulatory governance and content norms on a par level with the autonomous institutions in India. There is also a plan led for promoting India as a global study destination, providing premium education at affordable costs, which will obviously restore the status of India as Vishwaguru. And there is also a proposal of setting up of international students office in higher education institution for better coordination. And then there is also a proposal of establishing an academic bank to restore the academic credits digitally. And then if we talk about the technology, the use of technology in education, then this policy proposes to create an autonomous body called as National Educational Technology Forum, and this will be created, which will provide free platform for the exchange of ideas on the use of technology at both the school and higher education level. Also, for better regulation, a Higher Education Commission of India will be set up as a single body to deal with the entire legal matters of higher education except medical. And then the national education policy further simplifies the process by setting a same set of norms for both the public and the private higher education institutions. Also, the policy is setting for a stage-wise mechanism which will phase out the affiliation of colleges in 15 years for granting graded autonomy to colleges. And then the policy also proposes for the mentoring in a mission mode, where a national mission for mentoring will be established with the senior and retired faculty as members, and those will be willing to strengthen the education sector through teaching and mentorship to universities and colleges. Then the policy also takes into consideration about the financial support for students, for which it proposes to incentivize on merit basis, and the merits of students belonging to minority and the vulnerable sections will be taken into consideration. Also, there has been an idea of expansion of national scholarship portal so that the progress of the students receiving the scholarship could be tracked. Now, let's see what are the areas where it is criticized. So, as the policy says that the top 100 universities will be allowed to set up their campuses in India, but as we noticed throughout our discussion that there is no such standard has been mentioned to set or to measure the quality of those 100 universities. That is, on what basis they will be selected and allowed to do so. It is also said that the government can follow the QS rankings. And what is QS ranking? Let me give you a brief about it. QS ranking, that is Quacquarelli-Symonds, which was earlier known as Times Higher Education QS World University Rankings. And it is an annual publication of university rankings, and it is the only international ranking to have received the International Ranking Expert Group approval. Also, it is the most widely viewed university ranking in the world. So, by seeing this, overall, we can say that unless the HRD ministry comes up with any new law and details on this matter, this subject will remain questionable. Also, as we see that there is an emphasis in the new policy on the critical thinking and free inquiry, but the submission of universities for the politics and cultural norms makes the overall process difficult, if not the intention. Because a free education system to flourish requires a free society. And then the promise of new regulators along with new research foundation is a much awaited step, as it entirely depends on the upon the norms getting formulated and its implementation too. And then the policy, despite mentioning about the exit options, it did not clearly mention about the procedure, that whether it will be made available with a single institution or it will vary as per the institutions. Also, the exit option will get determined by the financial background and circumstances of the candidates. So friends, this was our today's discussion on New Education Policy 2020, which aims to facilitate an inclusive, participatory, and holistic approach. And it also takes into consideration field experiences, empirical research, stakeholder feedback, as well as lessons learned from the best practices. Also, this National Education Policy 2020 is a progressive shift towards a more scientific approach to education. The prescribed structure will help to cater the ability of the child, stages of cognitive development, as well as social and physical awareness. If implemented in its true vision, then this policy and the new structure can bring India at par with leading countries of the world. So feel free to reach us regarding any query or guidance at any stage of your preparation. We'll be available at info@ishelpdesk.in, also through WhatsApp number mentioned here and on our website. Thank you so much for your time and patience.